Rob Pizzola is a professional sports gambler in the great nation of Canada. Rocking a Blue Jays lid right now. I got my Marlins cap on right now, but I don't know what era this is from. I don't think it's their current iteration.
Lost track by now.
You can follow him on Twitter at Rob Pizzola. Rob comes courtesy of BetStamp.
You're up.
It's at dozens of sports books and automatically shows you where to bet so you can get the best odds and save money. You could download the BetStamp app today. Rob also has the Hammer Betting Network. If you like sports gambling, make sure you follow them on Twitter at the Hammer HQ, or you can visit the website thehammer.bet. Hello, Rob.
Hello, Mark.
Would you like to begin with an apology?
I know what we're going to get at here, but I'm not going to apologize. My original statement still stands. I think it was a bad idea to fill out your bracket with FAU winning. They have a very legitimate chance to win right now, but I'm a very process over results type of person. And you could easily won your bracket without filling out FAU as well.
But you kind of made fun of it as if it was really wiping my butt with the bracket, and they're in the Final Four. So I kind of feel like an apology's in order here.
Since he's not here, I will throw Crowder under the bus because he goaded me into it, right? Like at first I was like, I don't think it's a great idea. And if we rewind the tape, Crowder's like, oh, tell him, Rob, it's a really dumb idea. You don't need, like, he was really, and I'm like, I'm a peer pressure type of guy. I succumb to the peer pressure, right?
No,
I'm not going to be like, no, Crowder. As soon as he got me going, there was just no turning back at that point.
All right. So is that an apology, kind of? I feel like you're almost there. You're on the brink of an apology.
I would apologize if I felt like I did something wrong.
Well, you made fun of me for having FAU as the champion in my bracket. They're a couple games away.
I said that there's a possibility that FAU could win the whole thing. It's very unlikely. And if I were filling out a bracket,
I don't think you were as.
You know what, Mark? This will be the one time. If you want to use your one time on this apology, we can do it.
I want to peer pressure you into an apology, and then I want to peer pressure you into more apologies later when you owe me an apology for that Panthers under that you told me to bet a few weeks ago, and then 9 goals were scored in the first period.
And guess which teams play again tonight, Mark? Maybe history might repeat itself.
All right, well, let's get there. Rob Pizzola is with us from Canada. So the Panthers, they took care of business in Toronto. Did you go to the game last night? Were you there?
I did not, and I would say Alex Lyon took care of business last night because he was unreal.
First star of the game. I mean, that dude was legit. So they're in Montreal tonight. Panthers are like a minus 200 favorite. I do have a parlay working. I will tell you, I have a parlay working with the Marlins. And unfortunately, we can't get the Marlins game up on the TV here in the studio because we just can't figure it out. You'd think it would be as simple as just hitting the remote control, and it's not. So I'm watching the Rays game. I'm watching the Rays and Go-Go versus Blue Coats. What is that? Oh, G League playoffs.
G League.
All right. We can't seem to get the Marlins, so I don't even know, but I have the Marlins and Panthers money line parlays working today. What do you think about Panthers Montreal tonight?
So we don't know the Panthers goalie yet because Bobrovsky missed the game last night. I believe he had the flu. They
said non-COVID illness.
Right. And we don't know if he's going to play tonight. That hasn't been announced by the team yet, whether or not he's going to be in. We likely have to wait till warm-ups. Now, despite the fact that Alex Lyon played unreal last night, he's much worse of the two goalies. And I wouldn't want to back Florida if that were the instance. In fact, if Lyon played tonight, I would probably take a shot with Montreal at the current market price. It's very tough for goalies to go back-to-back in the NHL. You typically don't see that a whole lot. There's a reason for it. So Montreal would be in play for me there. Regardless, though, player prop that I really like in the game, Carter Verhaeghe over 3.5 shots on goal. He was held to 1 in Toronto last night. The Leafs played a really good game against Florida last night. They, really stifled the Panthers after they scored that early goal. Verhaeghe didn't have a lot of open ice. Montreal's the complete opposite of that. They give up a lot of open ice. And if we go through the game log for Verhaeghe prior to the 1 shot on goal last night, he's just ripping them at net. He does shoot a lot. They gets a lot of time on the power play as well. So I played a player prop. I played Verhaeghe over. The only other thing I would consider in this game, though, is the Montreal Canadiens if Alex Lyon gets the start.
What about the over-under, the total, 6.5? You don't want to dabble back in that?
I'm not being goaded into this. That was legitimately
that was unbelievable.
I'll own it. And at the end of the day, I honestly don't care. Like, I'll be real with the audience here. Whether I lose a close game or I lose in like devastating, embarrassing fashion, like, it doesn't matter to me. At the end of the day, it's a loss. And I think that's what you just, you laugh about it, you move on. Possibly the worst hockey bet I'll make. I mean, in this decade.
It was funny. I mean, you have to, funny's funny, and that one was funny.
That one was bad. I've had some bad ones before. So playoffs last year, Tampa Bay and Toronto, I bet Steven Stamkos not to score a goal in one specific game. And I turned on the game and it was 1-0 Tampa and he had scored. It was within like the first two. So I've had situations like that before where your bet is over in the blink of an eye, but you just take it and move on. And, but no, I'm not going near the under tonight.
Hey, Paul Maurice, now the Panthers won and I think the Penguins lost. So, there's still some chance here. There's a little bit of daylight for the Panthers to sneak into the playoffs. But I had texted you after, what was it? Monday night, Tuesday night? I'm so confused on our days. After the last Panthers loss, when they had lost 4 in a row and the Penguins were winning. And I just said, I hate Paul Maurice. You had told us, you had kind of warned us before the season started when they hired him, right?
I did. I mean, I'm a believer in like second chances, just in general in life, sometimes even third chances. But how many times do you coach a team, not have success with them, and then just be able to pick up another job? And this is kind of the culture of the NHL. Pro sports in general, you don't see a lot of people get opportunities out of nowhere. There's very few instances where that actually happens. And I think Paul Maurice is just another dime a dozen retread coach. And frankly, I think if you look at the teams that he's inherited over the years, he's never really been able to maximize, what he gets out of those teams. So I'm not a fan. I did love watching him go wild on the bench last night. I don't know if you guys, I actually have not seen a coach go that ballistic on his team in a long time. You could say it sent a message because they won, but frankly, they didn't really play well even after that. So who's to say? But yeah, I'm not a Paul Maurice guy. And there's lots of reasons that the Panthers are not having success, particularly their blue line isn't as good as it was a year ago. The Mackenzie Weegar being offloaded was a big mistake, but no, Maurice is not. He's not the guy.
Did they? I mean, we're like, we talk about the Tkachuk trade. So Huberdeau was the main part, but Mackenzie Weegar ends up being a huge loss. So did they? Here's the thing. I talked about this with Crowder. I'm not a tinkerer, right? I don't open up the hood of the car and start tinkering. I'm not the guy who goes on YouTube when the toaster is broken to figure out how to make, just go buy a new one and move on with I am not a tinkerer. And the Panthers had great success last season, win the President's Trophy, go to the second round of the playoffs for the first time in forever. And they tinkered a lot. They got rid of Andrew Brunette. They bring in a new head coach. They get rid of Mackenzie Weegar and Jonathan Huberdeau, and you can talk about, well, they wouldn't have been able to re-sign him anyway, and they get Matthew Tkachuk in return. They did a lot of tinkering. Too much tinkering?
It's hard to say. So apples to apples, I think Matthew Tkachuk is a much better player than Jonathan Huberdeau. I think a lot of Huberdeau's success, and I'm not saying Huberdeau is not good. He's a very good player, but he picked up a lot of secondary assists last year. Which is not the primary assist where you pass it off to the player who scores, the secondary assist, like you touched it at some other point in the play. And typically that's a sign of somebody who's going to regress in the near future. So I think they did a great job of selling Huberdeau at his highest value in market and bringing in Tkachuk. If they had done something like Huberdeau and a draft pick for Tkachuk, they would be in a much better situation because Mackenzie Weegar is a very good puck-moving defenseman. Very, very good. And they were already thin on the blue line. I didn't really understand that addition to the trade unless it was what Calgary said, like, we need this guy or else there's no deal. But I don't mind tinkering in the offseason. I don't. Your goal is to make your team better. Kachuk for Huberdeau, that makes your team better. Uyghur, that's a different story when you're thin on the blue line.
Rob Pizzola is with us at Rob Pizzola on Twitter. How about March Madness, the Final Four? We have a vested interest in both games. I live in Boca Raton, so I have great pride in the FAU Owls. Obviously, I went to the University of Miami. I'm a grad, and we're the flagship station. So we'll start with the early game. FAU, just 5 minutes from the house. FAU is a 2-point dog to San Diego State on Saturday.
So in some spots today, it's moved. San Diego State's a bigger favorite now, 2.5 to 3 points. The reason that this happened is there's a very sharp picks release service known as Right Angle Sports that released San Diego State as a play. So that moved the entire market.
Oh, yeah.
Personally,
I see it now at 2.5. Yep.
I disagree with that. Now, here's the challenge. First of all, Conference USA this year, I mean, a lot of casual bettors haven't followed Conference USA. That conference as a whole, if you include CBI, NIT, they're 17-1 in the postseason games. So you got to put some respect on Conference USA altogether.
No, we don't want to hear any FIU. Conference Rob. USA. Your team is garbage. let the big boys talk here.
But the thing with San Diego State, for this entire tournament, they've held teams to 17% beyond the arc. And they're a very good 3-point defense. They have been all season, but 17% is insane. Like, it's nuts. Alabama and Creighton shot 5 of 44 from 3-point range. That's 11%. And the likelihood that that's going to happen again, in my opinion, is small. Now, you have to take into account the stadium. They're playing at NRG Stadium in Houston. And this is known for being a stadium where shooting goes to die. So maybe it can happen again at some point. But it feels to me like San Diego State is the team that is due for some negative regression. And FAU, they can move the ball. They have great ball movement. They have shooters. At pretty much all times, they have 4 of their 5 players on the floor are good shooters. They can space out this defense and hit open shots like Alabama and Creighton weren't able to do. So personally, I hate being against another big sharp group. I made the game a pick 'em. I think it's basically a coin flip. Give me FAU plus the points. I bet it as soon as that release happened today, and that's what I'm riding. I just think these teams are very equal.
How about the late game, which is Miami Hurricanes and UConn? UConn looked really good against the Zags. Miami is a 5.5-point dog.
UConn looked very good because they are very good. Listen, no disrespect to Miami. Miami's 22-10 against the spread this year. They're a covering machine. They've won people a lot of money. They put up 85, 88, 89 in games against Indiana, Houston, and Texas. That is very, very good offensively. That said, UConn is a step ahead. I mean, forget about what they were ranked going into the tournament and their seeding, right? We have these advanced metric sites, Ken Palm, T-Rank, run by Bart Torvik. T-Rank had UConn as a 1 seed going into this tournament. Ken Palm has moved them into that spot as well now. They're just playing on a different level than these other teams. And that's not to say that something can't happen over the course of one game. But UConn is demolishing teams. It's not like these are close wins on their way to. They're won every game by 15 points. Like, they're crushing teams right now. So as much as I'd like to bet Miami, I made the game a 6-point spread. I'm not betting it right now. I probably won't bet it one way or another just because I don't see it moving. I think this is the end of the road, but it's one game. College basketball, we see these upsets happen all the time. And Miami has the guard play where they can compete with the best teams in the country. Do they have the defense? I don't know. They probably need a bad shooting performance from UConn, but maybe the Cinderella story continues.
It would be great, man. How much of a fun season have we had watching man? And we love Jim Larinaga, the head coach. He's such a great friend of the program. Just it has been fun. By the way, if you want to listen to the game, don't forget it will be on 104.3 FM, The Shark, on Saturday night. Joe Zagacki. Pregame begins at 8 p.m. How about the Marlins? You're wearing your Blue Jays hat. I went to a Blue Jays game with you. What's
Mhm.
the song they sing there again? I mean, they do take me out to the ball game. Well, what's the other song?
They did. There's a at the seventh inning stretch. There's a song before "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and it's a Blue Jays specific song. It's called "Okay Blue Jay."
Right, that was it.
Yes,
Okay, Blue
yes.
Jay.
Let's play
Yeah,
ball.
yeah, that was
Yes,
fun.
yeah. It's okay.
I
I
mean, we
mean,
had
it's
a
a
good
good
time.
stretch. You do a couple
Yeah.
moves. You know, it's
Sure.
yeah. You don't even have to hit the gym after that. You do your cardio in the seventh inning.
How are the Marlins going to be this year? I can't watch the game in here, but it is scoreless in the top of the third.
Competitive, but not good is probably what I would say with the Marlins. They had a season win total of 75.5 wins. Only 8 teams in the MLB were actually lower than that. The issue I have with the Marlins is what they are doing on defense. Like they've really shuffled up their defense and they have people playing non-primary positions. And with not being able to shift this year, I think that's probably going to bite them. The lineup is a little bit better than it was a season ago. Again, I don't think this is a team that's going to just get railroaded all season long. I think you'll see some competitive games from them, but they're still a ways away from a lot of the teams in the National League. So I thought this win total was fair. I didn't bet the Marlins over or under. 75.5 was right around where I had them projected, but they have their best defensive second baseman playing shortstop. Their second best defensive second baseman's in center field this year. Like it's really weird how they've adjusted the defense. And I don't know, maybe they know something as an org that I don't know as a better, but I think they're going to be one of the worst fielding teams in baseball this year, where you're just going to scratch your head and be like, this is pure pain at some points.
You think there's a point where maybe Jazz gets moved back into the infield?
I think it's entirely possible. I don't know what that would take necessarily, but it's weird, man. It's you typically want to stock, especially second base, shortstop. You want to stock those positions with like your best players, and taking one, moving them to the outfield. I'm at a loss for what they're trying to do. There's obviously some internal reason where they think this is going to work, right? So I don't want to see like I'm smarter than these guys or anything like that. But I think fielding is going to be an issue for them this year, and it's a very underrated component of baseball. And it's going to be over. I mean, they don't have the bats to overcome that is the problem.
Solana, you feel all right about that? You look a little down.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of hoping Rob would inspire a little confidence here with the fish, but everything he just said makes so much sense. I mean, we have Jazz in the outfield. What the hell are we doing? I love that move until 30 seconds ago, Rob.
What are you drinking there, Rob? Is that some Canadian specific drink?
So because it's Thursday and I'm doing your show, I told Solana I want to do video.
Tim Hortons.
Yeah. My wife picked this up on the way home.
So what is that? A coffee? Just a regular Timmy Hose coffee?
Yep, this would be Timmy Hose. Then we don't say that, so I'm not going to say that.
Someone says it. I didn't make it up. I mean, it was somebody told us that.
Chris
Was it Chris Drieger?
Chris,
I don't know.
Chris Drieger. I don't listen. Canada's a very large country. Maybe the out west it's a little bit different than out east, central, but. No, I've never heard Timmy Hose ever.
All right. What else did she bring you? Crawler?
No, I don't. I'm diabetic. I got to stay away from
every now and then though. You got to,
I do indulge every now and then.
Yeah, you can't live your life without a donut.
I mean, I'm going to be in a chair for afternoon baseball. Like I have been all day today. I don't need the extra carbs when I'm just going to be sitting around doing nothing all day today.
We read a story, and I tweeted it to you, Rob, about at Blue Jays games, they've introduced hot dogs covered with poutine. If you go to a Blue Jays game, will you have a hot dog with poutine on it?
So I won't. And the reason why is 1 block from the Rogers Center when you're walking to enter, you have the best like sausage stand in the entire city right there where you can pay like, I don't know, $3, $4 for a sauce. Like, why am I going to go get a $10 poutine hot dog at the game? I'm already going to pay $15 a beer. Or like, I don't need the poutine hot dog on top of it. So the pro move is you load up on the sausage outside the stadium. Then you enter. You can drink a few more beers, obviously, once you have the couple sausages in you. And so, no, I won't. But
Marlins are losing, by the way, 1-0. Mets just scored.
So is that gimmicky? That's the stadium being cute.
I love the gimmicky food. When we went last summer to Toronto in the Blue Jays game, we got my son got, and then I tried. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was just 2 giant scoops of cookie dough at one of these stands there. I don't know if they have it again this season, but it was way too much cookie dough.
It's easier for you, Mark. You get paid in American dollars. You come to Canada. It's basically like everything's free. They're paying you to eat the cookie dough at the stadium, right?
Yep, no doubt.
But they've done all these renovations at the Rogers Center this year. So the outfield seats have largely been knocked down, and they've raised the bullpens up, and they've made some like bar areas that are closer to the bullpens. It's much more open in the outfield. I'm sure that's going to end well. All these bar areas around the away team bullpen. Great idea. But I mean, it should be fun. But because of that, they have all these new food vendors in place, and they're offering up, the poutine hot dog.
All right. I love all the gimmicky foods at the ball games. That is my complete wheelhouse. Crowder's in Cincinnati, and they've got we saw yesterday Skyline Chili nachos. You ever had Skyline Chili?
I have.
Have you?
Can I speak freely?
Yeah, go ahead, because most people do not like it. I love it.
The worst chili I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, people, it's crazy. Either you love it or you think that this isn't chili. What is this?
I once interviewed Jay Bruce, who was playing with the Red. I think he got drafted by the Reds. I can't remember. I was in my early 20s, and I made some sort of backhanded thing about Skyline Chili. And he just he wanted to end the interview. He lost it on me. He's like, no, Skyline Chili. I'm like, who put cinnamon on chili? And he did not. He took
it works though.
It doesn't work.
And then all that cheese, all that shredded cheese.
On the Hammer Betting Network during football season, we had a show called Luke's Locks, where we had this guy, Luke, horrible bettor, by the way. He doesn't give out locks. He give out the opposite of locks. But the whole idea was he would give out a lock for Monday Night Football every week. And if he didn't get it right, he would have to do some sort of punishment. And because we were in Cincinnati for one of the primetime games, it was Bengals and Dolphins, the one where Tua got carted off. He made a pick on that game that lost. And the punishment was that he could only eat Skyline Chili all the way home on the drive back to Toronto.
What a pleasure.
And it sounds like you wouldn't have found this a punishment. He was actually visibly ill. He was just like, I can't do this anymore. We need to stop recording.
I literally want to go to Great American Ballpark just so I can get these Skyline Chili nachos. I'm very listen. You and I are. It's what makes the market. You got to have buyers and sellers. It's what makes the market. All right, Rob Pizzola there. Follow him on Twitter at Rob Pizzola. Check out the Hammer Betting Network. You can go to thehammer.bet. As always, thank you, Rob. He likes Carter Verhaeghe over 3.5 shots on goal tonight. He likes FAU getting the points on Saturday. Probably a no bet on the UM game for him, and doesn't think the Marlins are going to make too much noise this season. Thank you. And he apologized at the beginning. If you weren't listening, he apologized for making fun of my FAU lead bracket earlier. Apologize.
Half apology, I would say.
Rob Pizzola from Canada. Thank you, Rob.
All right, guys. Enjoy the game this week.
Thank you very much.